So today we're going to pull in, when we're talking about slope, this is 5.5 slope application, when we're talking about it from a word problem scenario. Okay, so let's work a couple of examples. So it says the table below shows the high temperatures in degrees Fahrenheit of a city during the first part of June. So it gives us the date and the high temperature. Okay, so we've got to think about determining what's X and what's Y. Okay, well, remember, we fill in the blank. Blank depends on blank. And it's always the Y depends on the X. So when we're looking at this, the temp depends on the date, because the later in the summer it is, the hotter it's going to get. So therefore, this is X and this is Y. Okay, so it says to find the rate of change, which means the slope, in the high temperatures between June 1st and June 6th. So that means it's between these 2 points. So I'm going to write down those ordered pairs. So we have 1,72 and 6,76. Close parentheses. And we remember our formula. The slope is y2 minus y1 all over x sub 2 minus x sub 1, or the change in y over the change in x. You can think about it either way. Now, with having these formulas, you need to remember, okay, as I read from left to right, it really doesn't matter which point I do. We'll label this as x1, y1, x2, y2. So we're going to have 76 minus 72 over 6 minus 1, which simplifies to 4/5. Now, we got to go a little further, just not a fraction. We got to talk about, what does this mean? So I'm going to actually do this division. I'm going to actually come over here and I'm going to do 5 into 4. Put my decimal, 5 goes into 40, so this is 0.8. So this equals 0.8 or 0.8 degree per day. And it's an increase because it's a positive. You don't always have to have this because it's shown by this being a positive number. So that may not be necessary. Okay. So this is your actual answer. You've got to have the description that applies to the problem itself. Okay. Next. Okay, we're doing the same type of thing. Okay. So we have from June 6th to June 8th. So we have 6,76 and 8,84. This is the first point. This is the second point. So we have m equals the change in y over the change in x. So therefore, that's 84 minus 76 over 8 minus 6. So this is going to be 8 over 2, which equals 4 degrees per day. Okay, so now it's asking, during which of these time intervals did the temperature rise faster? So it's asking me to compare the two slopes that I've found. Well, 4 is a higher slope. So therefore, we would say temp rose faster between June 6th and 8th. Your answer is not a number, it is a description of what happened. Okay, next example. So if I'm looking at 2, we're doing the same thing. I'm not going to work all of these. We're going to look at 2A and 2D. Okay, so we're trying to find out the rate of change from week 0 to week 2. Okay, so that means my points are 0, 224 and 2, 219. So remember, we're still doing this is 0.1, this is 0.2. So to find my slope, it's the change in y over the change in x equals 219 minus 224 over 2 minus 0, which I know the bottom's going to be 2. This over here, okay, I've got to do that subtraction, and you do not get to use a calculator. Minus 219, you should probably be able to see that is -5, which means according to this problem, that means it's -2.5. No, oh, wait a minute. We didn't determine which one's x and y. I just assumed. Back up, Kimberly, back up. Okay, so Josh started a diet and decided to record his weight every other week. Well, we hope that the weight depends on the weeks on the diet. So therefore, weight is the y, week is the x. Okay, I did that backwards there. So we have that he went down, or -2.5 pounds per week. That was a negative scenario. All right, let's look at D. Okay, find the rate of change from week 6 to week 0. Oh, well, to find the slope, remember that's the change in y over the change in x. So I could look at the table of values here. There's no change from here to here. And then this is a 2-week go up. So therefore the change in the y is 0 over 2, which means my slope is 0. Well, what does that mean? That's 0 pounds per week. But in realistic, this means that his weight did not change. So you would say his weight did not change for 2 weeks. That would be your description of what happened and what it means. This is the rate of change. What it means is this info here. This is describing what it means. All right, next example. Okay, next page. Number 3. Okay. The graph below shows the number of miles. This is easy. We already know what's the x and y because this is the x-axis, this is the y-axis. Number of miles driven after each hour of a road trip. So we want to find the rate of change from hour 1 to hour 4. So from hour 1 to hour 4. So with this, because it's a graph, I'm going to use rise over run. Now I'm going to pay attention to what I'm doing, or actually you could do the 2 points. It would actually be easier because your scales are different. It'll make it easier. Just do the 2 points. So we have 1, 60, and we have 4, 160. So for our slope, we do the change in y over the change in x. This is my first point. This is my second point. So I'm going to have 160 minus 60 all over 4 minus 1. So we end up with 100 divided by 3, which that is equal to 33.3 repeating. And if you don't know that, then that means you're over here doing 100 divided by 3. And you're getting what that equals. I just happen to know this division, but you have to show your work. Okay, and what does it mean? It's miles per hour. It's the y over the x. There's my slope. Okay, moving right along. So now we're looking at from hour 8 to hour 10. So that's from here to here. Okay, so write down the ordered pairs. We have 8, comma. Ooh, what am I doing here? It's going up 100. So therefore, this is going to be add 50. So I've got to add 50 to this. So that's going to make that equal 410. Oops. And then we have 10, comma, 460. This is, I can't seem to be doing things correctly. 0.1, 0.2. So we found the slope by doing the change in y over the change in x, which means I'm doing 460 minus 410 over, and yes, you have to write this stuff down, 10 minus 8. So we end up with 50 over 2, which is 25 miles per hour. Okay, one last, no, 2 more. Okay. I'm doing so many of these because it's word problems, which can be a little bit more difficult, okay? So with these, I don't have a graph to tell me what's X and Y. I don't have a table to help me to see kind of, so you have to honestly do blank depends on blank to be able to figure out what your X and Y is. Y depends on X, okay? So that's the first thing we got to do after we read the problem. So Ava started a savings account with $500. After 6 months, so she started the savings account with 500. After 6 months, her savings account was 733. Find the rate of change. So when I'm looking at this, the money depends on the time. So money depends on the time. How much money is in the account depends on the time. So therefore, when it started, that means there's 0 time that took place. So we would have 0, comma, 500. And then the next one is the months. So in this instance, time is months. So we would have after 6 months, comma, the amount is 731. There's my 2 points. And now I can find the rate of change. 0.1, 0.2. So we're still doing the change in y over the change in x, which means I'm doing 731 minus 500 all over 6 minus 1. So this is going to give me 231 over 5. No, where's 1? It's not 1, it's 0. It's a 0, so this is 6. So now that means over here, I'm going to do that math. 6 into 231. So 6 goes into 23 3 times with 18. So we have 5, 1, 6 goes into 51. 8 times, that's 48. 3, put my decimal down a 0. So this is 0.5. So this is $38.50 per month. This is the amount that she saves. Okay, last example, number 8. Okay, we have, again, if you're doing blank depends on blank. The population of Beaufort was 16,200 in 2010 and 13,824 in 2016. Find the rate of change in the population. Well, the amount in the population depends upon the year. So the population depends on the year. Okay, so that means my ordered pairs are going to be 2010, comma, 16. 200 and 2016, comma, 13,824.1.2. Slope is the change in y over the change in x equals 13,824. Well, one thing I noticed is my population's already dropping in the between those 2 years. So therefore my slope should end up being negative, minus 16,200 all over 216 minus 210. So the denominator is easy. That's going to be 6. I've got to do the calculations for the numerator. So I do 1, 6, because there are no calculators, minus 13,824. So we have to subtract. So that means we have to borrow. This becomes 19, 10. So this is 6, 7. Oops, this is going to be a 5. This is 11, 3, 2. And then that's 0, not 1. Come on, eraser. That's a 2. Okay, so we end up with negative 2376. Well, I gotta go further. I don't know what that means. So that means I'm going to be doing the division. 6 into 2376. So this is 3, that's 18, so that's 5, 7. 6 goes into 57. 9 times, because 9 times 3 is 54, 3, 6, 6 goes into 36, 6 times. So this is a negative 396 people per year. And there's my answer. Finish the notes and then work on the homework. Have a great day.